All right, guys. Nick Wilson, Spencer German back with you. If you are joining us here live, please leave a comment. If you are watching this on, well, Chuck
We already
did
got
leave
one
one,
comment. It's a
and I
little
think it's
vulgar, but I
it's
guess we
pretty
can.
it's pretty succinct. If I'm being fair,
Well, hey, we can throw it up there. Why
there's not
not?
a lot of wiggle room in this one. Yeah, that's pretty much straight ahead. Yeah, I would say I would also
He did
say
not beat around the bush at all.
not a lot of analysis there, but I think when it comes to that school up north, I don't think you need a lot of analysis. But
Once
as
uh
for
once once the clock hit zero on this Minnesota game tonight, I think this was the consensus reaction for most people on social media. It was like, all right, it's behind us. Just
oh,
start putting out the tweets.
you think they waited for the clock to hit zero on this one? Because it sure seemed after that second touchdown, after the Minnesota fumble, it sure seemed like people flipped that switch pretty damn quick early in the third quarter. Once you got up comfortably by I think 27-0. So yeah, drop a comment. As always, we're a new podcast. You guys make us. That is the reality of this. Please make sure to subscribe, follow, rate, give us all the good stuff, guys. We appreciate it. We appreciate you guys again make the podcast. And yes, I am begging, but that's okay. That's what I do. Now, with that being said, we do have the Michigan Panic Meter coming up before the end of the show. We've got love it, like it, and leave it. You can leave it, meaning leave your comments on your love it, like it, and leave it. Both on social media at Nick Wilson Says, at Spencito _, or in the comment sections here. And even if you're not live, if you're just hanging out on the YouTube channel for 92.3 The Fan, give us your love it, like it, and leave it. You and I disagreed on kind of the end of first half sequencing for Kyle McCord and Ryan Day, but you actually wanted to come out because you have some praise for Ryan Day today. Yeah. Am I correct in that?
Yeah, because a couple weeks ago, or maybe it was last week, we talked a little bit about just is Ryan Day holding back Kyle McCord, and you brought up in the first segment like I think it's pretty obvious he just doesn't trust him in certain instances, and I think that's true. I do think that's true, and I think at this point, I'm trusting that this deep into your regular season, you're 11-0. You've played all these games. You had preseason training. You had the early season stretch. You're now at the Michigan game. I'm trusting that Ryan Day is good enough at his job to understand like where he's at with Kyle McCord and what he has in Kyle McCord to understand how you're going to get the most out of him. And I thought that tonight he was trying his damnedest to get the most out of him. It wasn't always pretty. We talked a lot about the starting slow. I'll talk a little bit more later about the red zone offense, which I've harped on numerous times this year. Settling for field goals is not going to win you games against Michigan, Georgia, those teams, obviously. So we'll talk about that more later. I'm not saying it was always perfect. I'm not saying he had the right play call at every moment. But I also think that's part of being a play caller. Like you're never going to ace every single play. But I did think that tonight you saw some creativity from Day. You saw him trying to get Egbuka the ball on some end-around type stuff and even get him the ball in some other situations knowing that he's finally healthy again and that Marvin Harrison Jr. was kind of getting double-teamed. Basically, like all game long, you saw Minnesota in that two-deep show. They were playing cover two most of the night with safety help over the top on Marvin Harrison Jr., and you knew they were trying to take him away like most teams try to do. And I think Dave found other ways to get other guys involved and get McCord comfortable throwing to guys like Stover, which has been sort of a nice sort of comfort zone for him at times. Egbuka, he got Henderson early going on the first drive of the game. I think it was like a 2-6 pass to run ratio on that opening drive that they scored on. And I thought that built some confidence in the offense. I think, and I do think as you look ahead to that team up north, like that's going to be one of the keys for this team. We've talked a lot about what the offensive identity is for this group, and that if TreVeyon Henderson can get healthy, that's the thing you lean on. I think that they proved tonight like they can. He looked good tonight. Like I'm not even like take the 75-yard run out of it. There were plays where he'd pick up like 4 yards, and he was like full steam ahead, ready to run guys over, coming out of a pile, just completely unscathed. Like looked like he had a lot of energy, looked like he had a lot of pep in his step. I love what I saw from him today, and I thought that Ryan Day tried to kind of use that as a momentum builder for the offense, and I think it's the same exact thing you got to try to do next week. The difference is you have to be able to finish those drives a little bit better than they did tonight. But I thought he was creative. I thought he was pretty good tonight, and I think he tried to find ways to get McCord comfortable early. I can't fault him for much tonight other than maybe the end of the half sequence like we talked about and some other things.
I think it's been a pretty consistent push and pull between who held whom back on any given day. By and large, by the way, I do think it's been Kyle McCord holding Ryan Day back, maybe more than
Yeah.
the opposite. But I just thought Kyle wasn't good early. And I thought, I think some of this you have to give credit to Minnesota's defense. I thought they did a great job in coverage. They were really well disciplined. And I thought, it's funny, like the defensive line, I think only came away with one sack, but I think you kind of saw that they were able to get okay pressure. But I think some of it was just the kid just sped it up, man. And when it, it's one thing when you're fighting a good pass rush. It's another thing when you're fighting that clock in your head because the coverage is good. And I think, to me, I think that's a little alarm bell there for Kyle McCord going into this next little stretch here. And that doesn't mean he can't beat Michigan, but I'm incredibly empathetic when a young quarterback feels that pressure from the defensive line and just buckles. Because I think that's just something you have to get used to, the speed of college football. However, when the pass rush is just okay and you're buckling under the pressure of good coverage, and I know coverage sacks are real, so I don't want to I'm not trying to, I want to give Minnesota credit. They did a hell of a job early in this game in coverage. But Kyle McCord really struggled, and a couple of his throws were wildly off target, and it just wasn't good enough. And you would have liked to just see a better performance from him as you get ready for Michigan. We do have Radu pitching in there, chiming in on the comments, saying Day was not showing a lot tonight, kept stuff close so that Michigan wouldn't steal signals. I knew we had to get into that.
Can we laugh, by the way, at the fact that during the Michigan game, did you watch that game? Did you notice?
You mean where they were trying to block?
They were trying to cover out. Yeah. Like, oh, the irony of that. Yeah. Okay.
I think the whole situation is officially in Michigan's head. Michigan should have steamrolled Maryland today, but that's neither here nor there. Okay, we have not mentioned
here because we have to talk about it. But yeah,
well, we have not. By the way, a couple things that have happened. Jordan Travis for Florida State, and this does have real significant playoff implications. Jordan Travis has what appears to be a compound fracture in one of his legs. He hurt it in Florida State's game. It was, don't watch the video on Twitter is what I would say. And then we obviously have the Michigan game, but we've made it this far and we've not talked about the defense. The defense, and listen, Minnesota without Taylor is just they're very young and they're probably a few players away. So it's not just you're young, you're not talented enough. Well, but I thought Jack Sawyer lived rent-free in the head of Kyle McCord today, and I thought it was his best game as a Buckeye this season. That was insanely impressive. Do we do Buck Watch? I know Dog Check is the thing we do with the Browns. Like, whatever Dog Check version is, Buck Nuts Watch, I don't know. Nut Watching, I don't know. But like, holy hell, that's a different thing. That involves OnlyFans. But Jack Sawyer was amazing today. And I can, and Denzel Burke had a couple moments. All the usual suspects. Tyleik Williams with a couple run stuffs there. I just thought, they did a really good job of just not giving Minnesota any opportunity to get momentum. But again, Jack Sawyer. Kudos to the junior because that was a very nice performance from him.
I thought he was great. I thought Tyleik Williams had another really good game, and his name's popped up a number of times this season on that defensive line. I think you talked earlier in the week, though, when we did our preview, just about like this being a young offense. And I do think that was kind of what played on the field today, Nick, was like you had a defense that was probably more solid than I gave them credit for on Tuesday. And they sort of disrupted some things for Ohio State at times and made their lives a little harder until they were able to sort of out-talent them, which has been the story of their season. And an offense that Kyle McCord was, I think he struggled at times against a really good Ohio State defense. And they're just young and they don't have the talent yet. And they're still kind of learning some things in their own right. And we kind of knew that's what was going to happen here. Like that, like you never felt like Minnesota was ever going to make a game out of it because their offense couldn't do anything. And the only real concern you had was like, well, just don't let McCord make a mistake. So I think that was kind of how it played out on the field today. But you're right. Jack Sawyer was excellent today. Defensive line as a whole was excellent today. Denzel Burke, I know, made a couple big plays, a couple big tackles. So I think all around the defense continues to be something that we just praise. And they get their true test against Michigan. And the offense, I think, is still sort of ironing some things out, but we've seen some stronger things emerge like Travion Henderson.
I think the defense deserves a lot of credit. But, I gave PJ Fleck a lot of credit early in the podcast for how he set up Ohio State in these like impossible situations, right? And the punter, the MVP stands for most valuable punter today because he just consistently in that first half pinned Ohio State back up against their own ass. And I thought that was fantastic. But when you start the second half with the Travion Henderson 75-yard touchdown run, and again, I mean, you had the fumble, you had the interception, you kind of offensively you were making mistakes, but at no point did PJ Fleck ever go, hey, we're behind by like 27 points. Hey, we're getting the crap kicked out of us. Kyle McCord, maybe on a 3rd and 8, maybe on a 3rd and 5, I'm going to let that kid pass. Because Minnesota was awful on third downs today. And a lot of it was everyone knew on third down, 90% of the time you're going to run the damn ball. Yeah. And I thought that his philosophy was great in the first half. But the second you really got behind it, behind the 8 ball in the second half, all of a sudden, he just kept doing the same thing. And it's like, maybe there was the fear of I don't want to lose 70-0, but like that Kaliak kid, you can see there's something there. And he had a couple of nice throws that kind of were in space. And in reality, the offense probably takes too long to set up against a defense like Ohio State. But like, why not give that kid a chance to start just trying to sling the ball around? Because quite frankly, you weren't having any success on the ground because they shut down Newbin and they shut down Evans quick.
And I think, again, that goes back to what I was saying. Like, you just saw the limitations of that offense. They were a run-first team. That was their identity. That's what they wanted to do. And I think when, the game sort of got more lopsided and PJ Fleck could have tried to get out of it, I don't know. We talk about, I don't follow Minnesota football closely enough to know like the dynamics between PJ Fleck and his quarterback. But we talk about Ryan Day and Kyle McCord and the trust between those two. You just wonder if like Fleck's not there with trusting Kaliak Manis yet, where he's willing to let him do that type of stuff. Or if you're right, maybe he was worried about like, well, it could get a lot worse if we go 3 and out here too quickly or whatever. But he did make a couple good throws. Actually, I wrote down the one. There was a 3rd and 14 in the first half, and he completed kind of a crossing pass that got him a first down on a big play, 32 yards. So, yeah, like he made a few plays. I think Fleck probably should have trusted him a little bit more, but clearly they just weren't comfortable doing anything that wasn't running the football, I think.
Well, and I think trust is important, but at some point, it doesn't matter if you trust a kid or not.
Yeah, you just have
You're
to.
Down. Like, you want to. Like,
he was you know what? He was coaching that job like he knows he's not getting fired from Minnesota. That's what he was coaching that job, right? Like, I've gotten 9-win seasons, and this is basically the ceiling. So I'll be back next year. Well, maybe we'll try a little harder against Ohio State then.
I also think he was coaching not to lose. And when you're down 27-0, or after that third touchdown, like, man, just do something more. You know what I mean? Like, give your kids, because here's the thing: you're not coming back in that game. You were losing that game. And so I can understand saying to yourself, oh, we're losing this game, let's not get embarrassed. I would also look at my young quarterback and say, hey, man, listen, they think we can't get back into it. I'm going to try and do a couple of things here and give you a shot. If it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. You're playing with house money. Go out there and give it a shot. Now, I completely forgot to get to the Emeka Egbuka point earlier. Emeka Egbuka having his best game since before his injury, to me, that has real – like we talked about the negative stuff leading into the Michigan game about how kind of soft the offense looked, how bad Kyle McCord looked. Emeka Egbuka with an 80-plus yard receiving yard performance. You mentioned trying to get him the ball in a couple different ways. I think if you can get Egbuka really rolling, if he can build off this into this Michigan game, I think that's a way all of a sudden that no longer can Michigan just focus on Marvin Harrison Jr. because Egbuka is box office. And I just thought that was really crucially important that he had this kind of game heading into next week.
Yeah.
Because it just allows you, like, now, because if you've got Henderson, Harrison Jr., and Ibuka, that's the kind of weapon, with a smattering of Cade and Julian Fleming and Tate and G. Scott and all these other guys, and who knows if they'll play Dallas Hayden because the red shirt's up in the air. But like, now all of a sudden you got, like, that's some weapons that you can kind of throw at Michigan that maybe can be a little aggressive early in the game because, well, Ibuka is going to be able to get early, and that's going to take the Michigan defense, kind of get it off its off its even keel.
Well, and that's part of why I praised Ryan Day tonight. I thought he did a good job of working in Ibuka, who we've been waiting to kind of see bust out. I also just think in general, they handled his kind of return the way they should have. Like they didn't force it. Yeah, exactly. Like, what was it? I think for the Penn State game, they said he was cleared to play. I don't even think he ended up playing a snap in that game. I'm pretty sure he didn't take the field, but they said, like, in case of emergency, he was available or whatever it was, and they didn't use him. Okay, good. They kind of eased him in. Then he slowly sort of started just taking a little bit more reps, a few more snaps and a few more snaps and a few more snaps. And then it transpired into tonight, which was, you talk about it being the last dress rehearsal, if you will, before Michigan. It's clear they were like, okay, let's take the Corvette out of the garage. It's, spring's over. The bad weather's gone. It's the summer now. We can let the top down and see what we can do with this guy now that he's back fully healthy. And I do think that is a true weapon that's almost coming back. Like, you're getting a weapon now coming back for this Michigan game, and something that you haven't been able to show a lot of already to this point. So I think it's a nice tool in the arsenal of Ryan Day and this offense for next week, no doubt.
Now, before we get into the Michigan panic meter and love it, like it,
can we talk about whether or not it was intentional grounding in the
I didn't even care about the intentional grounding. I care about the unsportsmanlike conduct penalty after the touchdown, and here's why.
Oh, I was no. I was talking about in the Michigan Maryland game.
Yeah, no, that one doesn't matter to me right now because I want to. I'll get to it in a second. I just got to say, it was not a pen. So, okay, I don't think they should have. I don't think literally half the defense should have been flagged after the interception, because that's when it happened, after the Hancock interception. I thought it was really funny to hear them call out half of the defense's name.
What's the
number one, number 7?
I'm thinking there's a movie scene. What's the movie scene where, like, there's a whole bunch of flags and the referee stands there and he, like, rattles? I'm trying to think of it off the top of my head. I can't remember.
I can't think of it, but I'm telling you right now, that was excessive. But here's what. Okay, I actually am okay with that being called a penalty. The only reason it really pisses me off, they hadn't even set formation on the celebration. And that jagoff referee was jimmying for his flag. Like, that man, as soon as he saw the 7 dudes line up, like, they weren't even in position. It was like, if that was a family picture, no, like, everybody's blinking and there's like nobody's set. And that dude was grabbing for his flag. And I really do hate, it really annoys me when a referee, before the actual cardinal sin of taunting, oh no, before that actually happens, he was ready to call taunting. And that's what pissed me off. And then I did laugh because he mentioned 17 names to make sure that any of those goddamn kids so much as like smiled again in that game, they'd get a second one, get ejected. Can we all admit the dumbest part of this was that son of a bitch having his hand on, like, I couldn't tell if he was trying to pull out his flag or his dick. Like, he was ready.
We've had enough of that on this show. That's for sure.
That's fair. This is the dick positive show.
That's the fact that he was basically already planning on doing it before he did it is a problem. But I think you know this about me. Like, I'm very much team let them have fun, whether it's college football or otherwise. So I don't really, unless it's something actually egregiously inappropriate, I'm always like, I don't care if they're celebrating and having fun. I mean, we talk here in Cleveland, like, what's the whole thing with the Browns? Like, Jim Schwartz tells the defensive guys if they don't celebrate plays, and it's like a loaf and they get yelled at for it. Like, it's sports, man. Like, these guys are going out and playing this gladiator game, and it's emotional and it's fun for them, and they make these amazing plays. Like, I don't care if they celebrate and get, whatever. But everyone's like, oh, well, first of all, I guess I kind of understand the image they were trying to uphold when it was just like, oh, this is college and we're all about sportsmanship here. But guys, with the NIL era officially here, we are well past that. Like, we are well past the idea that we're giving off like these are just student athletes and they all have to be kind to each other and show that Ohio State is a good, nice school and we're all just abiding by the rules here. Like,
I just don't know why it was excessive or why it was over the line. Like, that to me is just now getting. I do want to get to the intentional grounding penalty real quick. Do you think it was?
I don't think it was because, and this is what who's the official, the guy who's on with Gus and Joel for like their officiating. I forget who it is off the top of my head.
I don't remember those nerds' names. I don't make a note about. No, when they're like, oh, we're gonna go to rules.
It's not Mike Pereira because he's with the NFL.
I'm gonna go to Mormon underwear Mike, who's now gonna tell us about missionary sex and how women can't have orgasms. That's what every goddamn officiating expert is. They're the a-hole in school, and Radu's saying it's Dean Blandino.
Dean Blandino, yes.
They're the a-hole that's like when you're playing Uno in school, you can't do that. You can't do that. It's dude, it's not the World Uno Championships, okay, bro?
My thing is, even Dean said this on the broadcast, and it's what I've always known the rule to be too, is like it's a judgment call. Like some are obvious. Some are obviously intentional grinding. Like when the guy throws it out of bounds, clearly he like whatever. It looked like Talia was trying to get it there. Was it like 8 yards short of his guy? Yeah, but like it wasn't like he just threw it into a random place. Like there was a guy at the other end of that pass if he'd been able to get a little more air underneath it where it would have been a little bit closer. I thought in that stage of the game on a penalty that is literally a judgment call that's again what Dean Blandino said on the broadcast as well. You let it go. You let it go because you're basically now interjecting yourself into a game and an outcome that could be a pretty exciting ending if you let it just kind of play out. We'll see. And it might have just ended with Michigan getting a sack or turnover on downs or whatever, and it wouldn't have mattered. But I didn't love it in that instance because it is just a judgment call at the end of the day.
Yeah, I think if somebody is within the general vicinity of the throw, it can't be intentional grounding.
Agreed.
So that's just a moment where I think like awareness is really important with refs, and it is. I actually think college refs are a hell of a lot more aware of things than maybe NFL officials are, where they're more likely to like call like a really tight game and then out of nowhere just like throw 17 flags like the Browns and Ravens game at the beginning of the fourth quarter. So like by and large, I think they get that call right more often in college than they do in the NFL. However, in that game, in that circumstance, I thought it was listen, I didn't think it was intentional grounding. The guy was close enough. So, like, if he's close enough, like that, like this wasn't like he had half a field open and it was clear that he wasn't like, come on. You have to like, and knowing that game, knowing the situation of that game, if there's even a kernel of doubt, you can't call that play.
If I was in that stadium, I would have been starting the bullshit. That would have been me in the stands starting the chant. I would have done it.
That's a pretty good bullshit chant. I'm not gonna lie, it was a pretty good bullshit.
I thought about going 3. I stopped at 2. You know.
Well, listen, we can do better. We will do better.